Welcome to another episode of Parenting Teens Advice Redefined for Today's World. I am your host, Cheryl Pankhurst. I just want to say first, I'm so grateful that you're here, that you're listening, and that this is the podcast where we have real, raw, honest conversations about issues and challenges you may have with your teens. And I always say that it's not them, it's you. And that's not a slam. That is actually where the magic happens, because we can control how we react, how we respond, and the work we do around parenting, knowing our triggers, knowing what upsets us, knowing what our values and standards are. And how do we continue to parent with our standards and our values in this noisy, crazy, distractible world, especially with social media, especially with ChatGPT, especially with comparison? It is hard. It is so freaking hard. It's the hardest job you will ever do. And I know this from every angle. I know this from the angle of a parent. I have two grown-ass adults. I know this from the angle of a teacher in the high school system, from administrative side, from the supervision side, from the special education side, and working with families one-on-one. I know the parent side. And so it comes from sitting on all tops of the fence, if you know what I mean. Like I have like the bird's eye view of all the issues that are happening, and being able to look at all of these and not have a one-sided perspective makes it a little more manageable, that we can bring some compassion to everyone who is sitting at the table with our kids. And I want to talk today about, this is the January right before semester 2 starts. And this is where it is a fresh start when it comes to high school. And when we are dealing with the last semester's report cards, last semester's teachers, our kids and how they managed last semester, it's time to say, okay, this is where we are at today. This is what happened last semester, even last year, bringing everything to one point. We're meeting you where you're at right now. How do we move forward? How do we look at what happened last semester, what the successes were, what the challenges were, and how do we move forward? And when you get to high school, we know that there's this fine line between holding our kids' hands and fixing all the problems and making sure they have a good experience and navigating what they can be as failures and navigating the wins and being able to see what the future holds for this semester. It's only February till June. It's a short amount of time and it's a long amount of time. And how do we go about being proactive for our kids, or proactive with our kids, in order to allow them to have their own voice in the education system and to feel supported and to have their backs, and to, when we have way too much control over what's happening in their school and with their teachers, and we're trying to micromanage everything just because we just want them to be happy, we just want them to pass. When we take that over in an extreme way, the whole helicopter parent, there's so many detrimental things that come through this. And what I find and what really strikes me is that when we are speaking for our kids, are fixing things for our kids, we are giving them this message that I don't have faith in you to do it on your own. Or even, I don't have faith in you, even though I have your back. So how do we go about creating this bridge where our kid is the star team player in all of this? And we are just coaching them along. We are guiding them. We are giving them options, giving them choices, like actual choices, not the choices we want them to make. And then maybe going through, if they want to make a choice you don't agree with, maybe bringing to the surface, well, this could happen, or that could happen, or this could happen, and then still let them decide, still allow them to fail. And is it a failure or is it a learning experience? That's where we want to go with this. So semester 2 starts in February, and this will be launching just in enough time for you to get to this. Kids are going to have their new schedules. Kids are going to have their new teachers. Kids are going to have a whole slew of new people in their classes that they might not know. And this can create some anxiety. They've gotten to know people. They've gotten to know friends and teachers and how they mark and what subjects. And now everything is brand new and fresh, and it could be really creating some anxiety. And what's offered in the schools is always a parent-teacher interview session. They get to know you, the first of the semester, here's how things go. And I remember being the teacher who would stand up in front of parents and talk about special education and what an IEP does and how all of these supports work and accommodations and all of that. And looking out into the audience and seeing 90% of the audience is parents. 10% are the kids. And I would think to myself, why? Why are you taking this on for your kids? This is about your kid. And you know what? They may not want to go, but if they get to have a voice in these meetings, if they get to understand the rules and they're present to all of the protocol, all of the things that are going to happen this semester, and all the good things, what clubs to join, how to get extra help, and sporting events, and all of that, if they're a part of these meetings, then you're not going home and filtering what you heard and what you think they might really enjoy. They get to be a part of that conversation. And every time we bring our kids with us, we are giving them a voice and we are giving them options in their high school career, because that is not where it ends. This is where we want to start building their voice in high school, because once post-secondary hits, once college hits, or university, what happens? It's cold turkey. Parents are no longer involved, and now they have to make all these decisions, all these choices, get all this information, try and come home and give it to you, try and filter it out for themselves. If we are starting right from the start and involving them in everything that has to do with their education, it is their education. And when we start giving our kids the voices and the options in their education, that also leads to not just post-secondary, now it's the workforce, now it's life in general, where they're going to have to make these choices. And the sooner we start allowing them to build the skills of making choices and speaking up for themselves, the more solidified these skills are for later. So not only are you getting your introductory parent-kid information sessions, but then about a month in, you're going to get the options to have them meet the teacher. And when you do this, look at it, like I've said before, it's like speed dating. You get 5 minutes with each teacher. And once again, in these meetings, 90% parents, 10% kid. So you are getting the he said, she said situation where teacher is giving you some information about what's happened in the first semester, the first few weeks of the semester. And then you're going home, you're saying, hey, I heard you did this, I heard you didn't hand in this. And it becomes a he said, she said situation. So first off, your kids are going to all your meetings with you, and go to the meetings. I know you're busy. I know life is just lifing, and you have other kids and sporting things and meetings, and you have a job, and maybe you're a single parent and it just feels unmanageable. But if you think that you're kicking off the start of the year, already having all this information in front of you, and your kid already has the information in front of them, Now you are fully informed and now you're being proactive. Now everybody has the same information. No more he said, she said. And then you can sit down in this meeting with the teachers. And if you have a kid who doesn't like to ask for help or doesn't like to bring their homework home or all of that, can you set something up proactively with the teacher? Listen, is there any chance we can have a check in once a week, a quick email, a quick phone call? How did the week go? Are we missing something? And if you're doing this by email or you're doing this by phone call, your kid is involved. CC the kid in the email. Make sure that there's never a, well, he said this and she said that, and then there's a gap of information. We want our kids to build these skills now. It's so important that they build the skills now so they always have them. And then there's no backpedaling and backtracking about what they were supposed to have and how we access the homework. And I don't even know what the due dates are. But if you have all this information from the start and something's missing, well, you already have a relationship with the teacher and your kid already has a relationship with the teacher. And then we're talking about exams coming up and how does that look? And if you have a kid with an IEP, we want to make sure that you have the IEP with you, that your kid has an IEP with them, and they know exactly what is on this IEP and exactly what they are entitled to, not doing it as a favor. They are entitled to specific accommodations that really work for them. And that is a really good conversation to have in these 5-minute quick teacher interviews. Listen, this is David, and David is my son, and David can speak to how he learns best. Well, you know what? I don't like sitting at the front of the room. Some kids have this on their IEP, proximity to the teacher. Some kids are not comfortable with that. Some kids are more comfortable just taking a really quick break or a really quick walk, or do they need their test in 5 pages instead of 2 and lots of white space to doodle? Do they need to listen to music? Do they, there's little things that really, really help that will set them up for success instead of having to backtrack and say to the teacher, well, you didn't follow the IEP, this accommodation and that accommodation. And yes, it is a teacher's responsibility. But is it worth going back later on and saying, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't put accommodations into place. My son, this, yeah, now you're off at the principal's office. Now you're off at the board office. Can you start really proactively planning out the semester with your kid? And I find this, of course, important with every student, but really important with our kids who have IEPs. They know how they learn best. They know what does and doesn't work for them. And if they are allowed to voice that at the beginning, then it's not going to be a surprise later. And if we're hiding these IEP conversations, what are we telling our kids? Are we telling them that this is something to be ashamed of, embarrassed of? Or is this just a piece of paper, a document based on data that says this is what you are entitled to? And we can tell our kids, it's like wearing glasses. If the teacher tells you you're not allowed to wear the glasses, how fair would that be? Of course you can wear your glasses. Of course you can, use a special pencil. Of course you can record the classroom, whatever it is you need. Of course, because you are entitled to this. And the more we make this the norm, the less shame that they are going to feel about asking for help. And if we put it into place right from the beginning, you're avoiding a whole mess of issues. This whole let's see how it goes normally doesn't work. So let's put everything into place. Let's have the meeting together. Let's have our voices here together and then see how it goes. Then, yeah, you're not going to have perfection, but at least you have started them off on the right foot. And if you are in the middle of this and you feel like, but Cheryl, I don't even know how to start these conversations. But Cheryl, We just got a diagnosis. But Cheryl, I have 36 pages from a psychologist assessment report. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what this is. And do I want to pay another $6,000 to have somebody interpret this into layman's terms? No, of course not. That's where an advocate comes in. That's where you can DM me, send me an email, and let's talk about this. Let's talk about having a voice. And this isn't a long-term problem. This is a short-term problem. This is a advocate telling you what you are entitled to do, what meetings to be at, who to talk to, what hierarchy to start with and then go to if things don't work. If you're stuck in this, I just have no idea where to start, that's where you would call someone like me, because I have been in this for so many years and on every side of the table that I know the limitations of the teachers. I know what they need to put into place. I know what administrators might say. I know what the board office might say. And I know you as a parent, how you're feeling, sitting there feeling like I don't even know where to start. And then you have this poor kid just got this diagnosis. And how do we make this a strength for them? How do we say, great, we have this diagnosis now. Perfect. This doesn't define you. This just gives us some information on why this really worked for you and how we can implement these things in all your classes so that it always works for you. So that being said, we are now again working into the first of the second semester. And those are some tips for you to get started. I would love for you to reach out, DM me, go on my website, cherylpankers.com, and you can connect with me through that. If you have any questions, I am so happy to take a call. It's a complimentary call just to have a look at what you're sitting with, what you're dealing with, and what you need some support with. That's what I'm here for. That's, my friends, my jam. That's why I do what I do. I want to ask you to share this because this might not, resonate with you right now. It might not be the situation you're in right now, but it definitely could be for somebody that you know, somebody that you share it with. I'm going to ask you to subscribe. I'm going to ask you to download, and I'm going to ask you to talk about this because there's nothing more that we need for our kids now than to really set them up. They've had some big challenges. We know what happened in 2020. There's a whole gap of challenges that came through that we have got to meet our kids where they're at and not have the expectations that 10 years ago might have come up. So let's really support our kids. Let's allow them to see that they have a voice and that they can depend on us to have their backs, but that we know that they can do this. We have faith in them, and we can give them the skills that they're going to need for tomorrow, for next week, for next year, and for the next lifetime. Let's raise these amazing human beings who know that they have a voice in this world. Thank you so much for listening. Again, you can connect with me through messaging, through my website, DM, social media. You find me everywhere. And I am so, so happy to help. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful first beginning of your second semester. This is Cheryl Pankers signing off. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to another episode. I just wanted to share something with you because, parenting teens is not just about managing these challenges that we talk about on all the episodes. It's also about evolving alongside them. And I'm Cheryl, and not only the host of this podcast, but I'm also the creator of Insight to Impact Coaching and Consulting. And I help you, moms of teens, reconnect with your true selves so you can lead with purpose. You can parent with clarity. You can create stronger, more meaningful relationships with your kids. Because here's the truth. The transformation starts with you. Together, we will break free from the stress and overwhelm. We will rediscover your power. We will create the life and the family dynamic you always dreamed of. If you're ready to start this journey, let's do it. You might just not recognize your life in the next 90 days. It all starts with a call. There's no pitch. There's no pressure. Just a call to see if I can help. We'll talk about your goals. We'll talk about what's making you feel stuck and what might be getting in your way. And everything you need to connect with me is in the show notes. Again, I'm Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining me here on Parenting Teens, advice redefined for today's complex world, and the creator of Insight to Impact Coaching and Consulting. Have a great day.